is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, cloud swing traders? Hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. What a crazy first 2 days. Crazy first 2 days of the market so far. So far. I think the first day was the biggest drop we've had, like biggest first day of the year drop since, I don't know, I think it was like, don't quote me on the year, but it was like 1979, something, 76, something like that. So it was a decent pullback to start, but we did have a obviously massive run into it to begin with. So you gotta figure there was gonna be some kind of pullback. First day, okay, okay. Second day, not looking so good either. But we got Al in the house. Good morning to you. We got Albert, Bill, Brian, D. We got Diane. Good morning to you. Eric, Ernesto, George. Good morning. We got Jay Linder in the house. We got Jenny, Joe, JT, Kevin Stone, Lauren, Wynn. All my peeps out in YouTube land. Good morning to all you guys. We got Daniel. We got MS, or it's either MS Kai. I don't know. I'll get it right one day, but I think it's Miss M Sky. We'll go with that. Good morning to Ivo. We got Paul in the house. Richard Jet. Good morning to you as well. All right, let's see what's going on today in this market. Let's see what's happening in this crazy world. So we did have a decent little drop. Interesting location for bounce though. So this is my 20 EMA on the daily for SPY. So we got a good bounce there. In terms of close though, not terrific. Not exactly what you want to see if you're a bull. That's gonna bring us again. We have this is why I use the VPOC as opposed to more just relying on the EMAs and SMAs. Those are all of this information. Everything on this 20 EMA is essentially information that's already we got this line because past data. It doesn't tell us where we're going. We did get a good bounce off there. They do act in some effect. That's why I do keep them up, because it's the law of large numbers where everybody has the same type of EMAs on the screen or somewhere in that zone. And you got a good little bounce off of it just because a lot of people were looking at that as going, okay, maybe we get a bounce. In terms of what is actually happening or what this chart tells me, and maybe we get saved here, maybe we start bouncing back and we start hitting new all-time highs. It's possible. But for me, there's a big obstacle course in the way at this point. Again, not saying that we're having this big massive pullback and this is the end of the line for the market and now we hit recession. I'm not saying that, especially not in an election year. I think that's kind of hard to fathom. But I would be looking at this level right here, right? So these are the highest volume areas. These are my next two real resistance. Kevin Stone says crazy rumor is it's my birthday. Hold on, let me check the calendar. Yes, that is correct. I appreciate that, Kevin. All right. So this is going to be my line in saying I got two little zones. If we start to close up above them at any point, all right, well maybe that EMA was just enough for us to get us back into maybe that little bullish trend. We get either a retest or we do create those new highs. Otherwise, having a close after all those volumes, after all those people deemed all those different areas valuable, and all of those people who were thinking for the last about 2.5 weeks, something like that, thought all those levels for the market were appropriate, if not higher, as we just kind of trended up longer and stronger each day. All of those guys are kind of trapped now with that close. So in a longer term picture, this is a very, very horrific close, especially knowing where that next VPOC is, right? And I'm going through this just because obviously the SPY is going to have a little weight on the overall market as far as how bullish we could be. My next VPOC is not that. It's not until about 464.58. So that's still a decent amount a ways lower. And again, even though EMAs are imaginary, how do you think people are going to start feeling if we start breaking down some of those EMAs and now people who don't really use VPOCs and they'll just have only EMAs on their screen? That's going to bring a little bit more negative sentiment to the market, but I'm looking for 464.58. And then again, it's just going to be tougher and tougher to get back until we get some kind of good catalyst. That being said, tomorrow, I think, is the biggest number we're going to have of 2024 And I could only say that because we've only been trading for 4 days. That's it. But I do think tomorrow's gonna be a big number with the jobs number. So I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of hang out still above the EMA in that range. Maybe we're just hovering around this 469, 69. I don't know if today's a big day. I think honestly, I would think today would be more of a wait and see type day with maybe some more sell the rips type day. So if this thing starts to move, unless we start at least clearing this 469, 62, 69, something like that. If we can start clearing that level, all right, yeah, we could get some bullish momentum, but still a lot of resistance in the way. So lots and lots of resistance above us. To me, give us some kind of good catalyst as why we get some kind of a good jump. And that could be the job numbers that come out tomorrow morning. So I think tomorrow morning we did have job list claims today. Not a real big mover in the market, but the jobs numbers, because that's going to relate directly to Jerome Powell and when he is going to, how much time it will take him to raise or lower, I should say, probably some of those rates. So we'll see. We got the Qs. Appreciate it, Al. Appreciate it, Win. Jenny, man, I'm checking out all the messages. You guys are incredible. All right, we got the Qs. So that Qs have a little bit more significant gap down. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 days in a row on this gap down. This is technically a retest gap. Question is, where are we going to retest to? I'm looking at resistance to the upside about 397.07. So that's my first little spot of resistance. We could obviously get into the low of yesterday if we come into retest. That's possible as well. That would take us to 398.29, and then yesterday's VPOC is 399.16. Again, without any good catalyst, without any good news. Not only that, but we have a little bit of negative news in the markets for tech, at least. I know we had Mobileye come out, and they're putting out forecasts that they expect revenue to be down about 50%. Was it 50%? I think it was 40 or 50%. Either way, that's way more than 5%. So they are expecting a little bit of a horrific outlook for the next quarter. Everything chip related. There's a lot of Nvidia's, AMD's also kind of gapping down a little bit. So the tech world is under attack. So we have more of a negative catalyst than we do positive. And I'm looking for probably to the downside 395.42. I do think we probably bounce a little bit at open. We'll see what happens. Get us up into that 397. I'm not even sure we close this gap from yesterday whatsoever today. So I'd be a little shocked if we do, to be honest. So looking for about 397.07, and then probably looking to pile drive down lower. I would expect TLT. Appreciate it, Ryan. Ernesto's in the house. Good morning to you, Joe. Thank you. All right, we got TLT. Also not a great gap. So yesterday was a gap and go technically just because it was a green candle. However, it was all downtrending prior. So acting more as a retest, but that did close as a bullish engulfing candle, and we were taking out all of that as well. So a little bit of an attack on some of the bonds today as well. That's going to add some additional pressure to the market. So if we rally at all signs right now are telling me that we should probably be looking to sell dips as opposed to buying some of those dips today. We will see. If you guys have tickers you want to take a look at, throw those into the chat pane. We will pull those up now. Amazon, I think, is also under a little bit of attack today from none other than TikTok. TikTok strikes again. TikTok is going direct to consumer, selling some products on their website, or app, or whatever you crazy kids got on your phones nowadays. But TikTok is going to go after Amazon for some extent of it. 1 billion users on TikTok, that's a lot. They have potential to take decent amount of shares, but don't forget Amazon is not just retail. So I don't think this is the nail in the coffin for Amazon, because TikTok came around with some crazy dance videos. But still, you lose 2% of your retail business. That could be a decent chunk. This is a pretty big retest gap into support. I would actually look to play this one to the long side. We do have a good moving average right here below us to support us up to. So I would actually look to play probably the fade on this one. After you got 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, this is all inside, but technically 5, 6, 7 red days in a row. Gap down into a moving average at some decent support. First level I'm looking to hold on Amazon is probably about 145.22. After that, we could probably get to like 144.70 for the bounce. If none of that holds, things could get pretty ugly for Amazon, and then I'm looking for a much stronger bounce, probably somewhere around 142.98, so roughly 143. But I think this is a decent amount of support already, especially if we get a good high wave open candle, something we could take a break above. I think that'd be fantastic to at least attempt it. And again, Qs itself is going to be a retest gap. The question is, where does it retest to and from? But I wouldn't mind playing Amazon for the bullish side on that. Appreciate that, Crystal. Yep, we could definitely take a look at that. IWM has a nice gap down. IWM. Yeah, also a little bit of a retest. But again, that's a significant close yesterday. I'd be more concerned with the close yesterday than even this gap. I mean, this gap is a retest. So again, see if we get a little bit of a fade. We're in a little bit of a downtrend, recent short-term downtrends. Then we get this gap down. See if we get it bought up first. Maybe we come into yesterday's close, which is 194.13. Otherwise, I got an EMA somewhere around 195.15. I don't know if this VPOC hits, because we would have to get through that EMA first. But that would be about 196.17 would be a strong little resistance on IWM. So yeah, I if this thing gets bought up at open, plenty of room to the downside. I would imagine there's going to be some eyes looking at probably right where we're at, 193.31, somewhere in that zone. Just that's where that closing the gap happens. But otherwise, there's no volume areas until 186.82. So that's a little bit of a free fall from there. Let me see. We got Exxon Mobil. Yep, I saw Mara come up too, so we'll take a look at that one. But Exxon Mobil. Oil's been bouncing recently. Nice little inverted head and shoulders in a longer term basis. Probably don't be the first one to buy this one. We got all congested up here in this 104 zone somewhere. So 104 to essentially 104.98. So you have 2 strong days of buying. I probably wouldn't want to be the first one to buy this stock, but if this pulls back, especially into like 103.38, that might be a decent spot. And watch this one longer term. There's your left shoulder, there's the head, there's the right shoulder, there's your neckline. Looks like we actually closed. Let's draw a quick line on this one to be sure, but it looks like it did close roughly outside of the neckline. I would draw from here to here. Yeah, so that was a good close yesterday. Gap up. Look for this fade back. We haven't really retested the neckline at all. So in a longer term basis, swing trade basis, maybe 103.38. Be cautious there. Maybe get a little bit lower. Maybe back into like this 102.46. And if it gets extended a little bit, 101.76. But that would have to be probably sometime next week to get that one. Otherwise, targets on this one, 105.54 would be the immediate target, but that could be a pretty decent, after a nice little downtrend, pretty decent reversal signal. Take a look at Mars. So crypto was actually moving today, I think. Take some of these lines off so we can actually see the chart. I didn't actually have time to look into the crypto account world today. Nice little gap up again. Retest gap. We've been on a little bit of a downtrend. Not enough volume for a capitulation on that. So all of this was big gap down, retest. So this is a retest candle. We are opening above a couple of VPOCs, which I do like that. First spot, let's see if it holds 24.05. If the entire market moves, the question is TLT is coming down. TLT to me would have to come up to really free up some space in the crypto world. because that means that rates are coming down. Once rates come down, money is cheaper, and once money is cheaper, you could get some riskier investments on the table into crypto. So I think TLT could weigh on anything crypto today a little bit, although crypto is running. I think we have what, January 15th is supposed to be the big ETF day. So they're still kind of running on the news. We'll have to see how the market plays out by the 15th, but I still think it might be a little bit sell the news. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. I'm back. Let's take a real quick look at Coinbase. I think Coinbase was jumping too. Very similar. So again, yesterday was gap down. All of it was a retest gap. You are above yesterday's VPOC. You're also above that level there too. You might get a little more range on Coinbase. You're gonna play anything. Mars obviously got a bigger short squeeze, but both of them have been running absolute beast mode. But probably 159.67 will be first target on Coinbase. Rivian, RIVN. I don't know. Yeah. Flip a coin, I guess. You did have a hammer yesterday. We're not anywhere close to breaking out of that hammer, so we're still inside day. That's going to make it a little tougher uh to really give it some good. I mean, obviously the range is short the high of yesterday, buy the low of yesterday, and until something breaks. If we're looking at the retracement, which is the next step I would probably be looking to take here, just to see if we've pulled back far enough where we might entice some bulls in. That's a hammer off the 50% retracement. So watch that. Watch the hammer. Watch the break of that hammer on the bullish side. That would be my entry if I wanted to attempt this thing. You do have a pretty good wide open gap up here that didn't even get close to closing. You still kind of had, even with that wick, we still got to close roughly inside that previous. This is really your breakout candle. This is your follow through candle. This one had all the volume on it. This one had some decent volume, but we still hung in there. That could be a little bit of a bear trap. We hit a couple wicks, but could we see some kind of inside day, especially knowing that we have the jobs number, which again, the jobs numbers, not CPI number. It's not going to be a Fed Jerome Powell speaking day, but where he comes out and raises, lowers, or keeps rates the same. But the most important thing about the jobs numbers is that gives us a little bit more of a time frame into what the market at least predicts will be when we could get some rate cuts. I think the most, do you guys know what the most, I think the most horrific news that we could get tomorrow would be? Take a guess what you think the job numbers report. What would be the most horrific scenario for the markets? Nobody? Al says good numbers. No, not good numbers. China attack New York. Is that like now, or is that like what you're expecting on the jobs report for tomorrow? I mean, technically, China's already attacking Amazon today with TikTok. Nah, that's not more employment. Nah, the answer. What would be the worst scenario for the markets if those numbers tomorrow comes in line? That would be it. Because if you think about this, if you have the numbers, they come in, they beat, the market loves it. Actually, technically, if they beat, the market hates it. Okay, at least we have a direction. Look at this again. Let's pull this back up. Even though we're coming down slowly, where is this channel at? Right? All we're essentially doing for the last 2-3 weeks, and again, we had some holidays, but we're just hanging out in this range. So if those numbers come out in line, then we're just punting to the next report. We have no idea. If those numbers come out where the market either hates it. At least now we have a direction that's going to make it a lot easier for us to trade. If they come out and the market loves it, we have a direction to trade. If those numbers come in line, the market is going to be so disappointed, but we still are in just this channel, this limbo, and we don't actually get the breakout. So those numbers are going to be important for that reason for tomorrow, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. CVX. Yeah, watch Walgreens today too. I know CVX is not CVS, but just kind of reminded me of it. And then therefore I just accidentally subconsciously typed CVS, but we'll take a look at both of those. CVX, same thing is I mean the chart is completely different than ExxonMobil, but yeah, everything oil and energy is kind of moving today a little bit. So again, yeah, pretty bullish candle. We really all of this just kind of came down. Here's your high volume candle back on December 15th. There's your little support, 149.43. That's just all of this is a retest into that candle, and then we had a big break from there. So I could see more continuation. I think CVX. What do I like more, CVX or ExxonMobil? I think both of them have to pull back a little bit. I don't think I would touch either until we push back. First spot of resistance, 154.47. I think that's a spot that can break, but we're gonna have a little bit of a challenge. So let's see if we pull back first. We have a good almost double top in terms of VPOX, and that's somewhere right around 152.77. So let's see if we pull back to there, and then I wouldn't mind playing that momentum. It looks like we've been channeling for a while. We broke out, good volume retest, and I think we get more continuation. Shell. Yeah, I don't think I think my two go-to stocks are ExxonMobil and Chevron, but Shell, very, very similar. I don't know Shell on the longer term. Again, I don't look at it that much. You do have a good double top up here on Shell, 68.48. The bigger difference why I would probably take either ExxonMobil or Chevron over Shell is just that at least those two had pulled back a little bit more. This one, it did pull back already, but we're pretty much close to, I think this is all-time highs. No, it's not all-time highs, but at least 52 two-week highs. There is also a downtrend. We could break and this thing could go nuts. As a long-term hold, I'm not opposed. But on a day trade basis, I think both ExxonMobil and Chevron have probably a little bit more room, just only for the pure fact they pull back a little bit more. That's it. Let's see. Which other stocks am I missing? I know you guys put some more stuff in there. Airbnb. ABNB. What do we got? 6 more minutes. Just kind of hanging out for now. Pretty decent pullback actually for a fib purpose. This one might make decent sense. I think Airbnb will probably gets affected by a lot of the rate cut tomorrow too, or the jobs numbers tomorrow. Now we're below the 618. We broke down 2 days ago from the 618, closed below it. We actually retested perfectly into that 618. So that 618, somewhere around 134.61 is going to be resistance on it. You do have this high wave. I want to see yesterday's candle break. So I can even set this as a swing trade. Stop would be low of yesterday. I would take a break higher than yesterday's high and just try to play that high wave. That's also a good bounce off of that. But anything below this 618 for right now, I'd probably want to see it drop a little bit further, at least into 130.12. Otherwise, just really an inside day two. So for day trade, I don't have a good edge. But we're at an interesting pullback zone for sure. Let's take a look at WBA. So again, they cut divvies. I think it was 48% or something like that. Which I've been saying that for the last few months. I think out of both of them, CVS, a few months back, I did put into the long term, which was a tough decision because Walgreens, stupid Boots Alliance. I don't think anybody in the normal world says Boots Alliance, but Walgreens, Boots Alliance, they had a higher dividend. Both look decent, but I think CVS is a little bit more dynamic because they do have the healthcare that they purchased a few years back, and that was low enough. And you still got a solid dividend, just not what Walgreens was paying. So A lot of people were probably jumping into Walgreens for that dividend, but the cash flow was just not there to really support it. So I was like, yeah, they might be cutting that dividend. I honestly thought that they would just wipe out the dividend, but I think they know they're going to lose a whole heck of a lot more people. Otherwise, in terms of the actual earnings report, it was decent. The earnings itself was good, but the dividend investors are not going to be liking that divvy cut. Kind of in a free fall range. I'm looking at a little bit of resistance, probably around 24.56. I also do have a little bit of support coming in 23.99, so a little bit tight, but I think a little bit more pressure to the downside. This is a retest gap. See if this one wants to drop. I think the only way I'd play this one if we get down to like 23.33 and then want to run it from there. We will see. Win says I called that 6 months ago. Yeah, that was just looking at the numbers going, yeah, the dividend looks great, but how do they pay it? Sure, I could write a check for $8 million, but it doesn't mean the bank is going to cash it. All right, let's see. Let's take a look real quick at Tesla. Tesla pretty strong close. Yesterday to the downside into a little congestion. I did pick up some long-term calls yesterday. That's not based off the daily chart. That's based off the weekly chart. Just we're in a TTM squeeze. This is a decent pullback. Problem with that close is we're right back into that downtrend. So now we got to kind of break again, but you got 1, 2, 3, 4 days in a row. Tesla could be rough. I mean, using common sense, it's probably not the best thing to take advantage of the TTM squeeze and buy some long-term calls. However, you're playing the setup, you're not playing the chart. Same thing with like Ford and G. Like Ford still has a good dividend on it as well. They probably can't afford that dividend, but with higher interest rates, car sales could be still a little bit tough. I think Tesla's a little bit different than Ford, GM because people that want Teslas typically have some kind of cash and they're not just looking for the best deal. They're looking for a certain car in particular. So I think Tesla does have a little bit of an advantage. That being said, we are into a little bit of kind of chop support, and we've had a bunch of days pulling back. TTM squeeze on a weekly basis still looks good to me, so that's why I did pick up some longer term calls on that. We got a minute and 10 seconds, and we got Apple. Apple looks like it's still feeling the effects of that downgrade. Again, the downgrade was to 160. So if that prediction comes true or that downgrade comes true, that's still a lot more pressure on Apple for about $21 from here, $21.93. Probably we get some kind of a bounce first, big wide open gap. This one, it is a gap and go only because that's a green candle. However, that was a lower candle. I would actually take this as more of a retest gap. You are at some level of VPOC, although we're slightly below it. So, yeah, I'd probably, I don't know if I would go long on it, but if we get back to this like 184 zone, I think that would be a spot to try to continue to reshort it. Yeah, probably around that 184. But I got like 18 seconds left. I think we covered most of them, but watch out for today. Tomorrow morning is going to be probably a little bit more volatile. Today, I think we're going to have some moves back and forth, but at the end of the day, I think we kind of maintain a tight range. We shall see. This is the opening bell. You guys on YouTube land are absolutely